Whenever we see any situation where the stakes are high, people have a plan. You know, your pilot has a flight plan, your doctor has a medical treatment plan, the military has a military operations plan. Why do they have plans? Because the stakes are high, and so they want to ensure success because people's lives are on the line. Now, when we look at business, I mean, maybe people's lives are not on the line, but certainly their livelihoods are on the line. So their livelihoods, their family, their community, everyone who's reliant on them, the economy as a whole.
Welcome to the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, this is Agostino. For many, building a real estate portfolio, you got to realize that marketing is a big part in getting in front of investors. However, the biggest problem that many of us have is getting from confusion to clarity, especially as it relates to marketing. And a lot of people do these random acts of marketing, which includes posting stuff sporadically on social media, putting up blogs from time to time, and those types of things just don't work. I mean, it doesn't give you any clarity. And there is no clarity of structure, and this does not do well for building your investor list. Well, today's guest understands this very, very well. He is a serial entrepreneur, rebellious marketer, and technology expert, and of course, is a #1 best-selling author. He has started, grown, and successfully exited multiple businesses in a variety of different industries. He has personally grown his business from a startup just 4 years ago and has recently been named the Business Reviews Weekly is one of Australia's fastest growing companies. He's been featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, and Inc. magazine, among many, many other publications. He's also the author of the best-selling book, The One-Page Marketing Plan. With all that, I'd like to welcome Allan Dib to the show. Allan, thanks for coming on, bud.
Hey, Agostino, wonderful to be on the show.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Very excited for you to be on the show. Now, if you like what Allan has to say, you can reach him via his contact page at successwise.com. And if you like our content, please don't forget to leave a comment and rate the show. Helps us out when you do. So please do so. Finally, if you text the word freedom to 202-410-4202, you get our free ebook, The Bulletproof Guide to Finding a Broker. Okay, Allan, go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit more about your background and your current focus these days.
Yeah, so I started my business life as a dead broke IT geek. I had an IT company which, we had a products and services that people really loved. But like a lot of business owners, I absolutely struggled with how to get new clients in the door. You know, the clients I currently had loved what we did, but we just didn't have enough of them. And so that took me on a decades-long journey to really learn marketing, the ins and outs of how to get lead flow, how to get new prospects coming in the door, how to close sales. And so after I'd really done it the difficult, expensive, and the way that I don't recommend, which is through trial and error, I spent about a decade learning all of this. And so I grew that business, became a national business. I exited it for more money than I'd seen in my life. Then straight away after, I started another telecommunications company. I built that from zero to 4 years later being in one of Australia's fastest growing companies, top 100 fastest growing companies. And then I've exited that. So I've done a couple of tech startups and exits, and now I'm helping people all around the world with their own marketing to really get clarity about marketing and to learn marketing tactical execution.
Nice. And I think that's one of the things that we covered in the intro there is that I think that when people throw stuff on social media, they call that marketing, right? Or they'll just work on one like on a 4-page slide deck and they call that marketing.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for a while now, and I know that there's a lot to it. But I'm sure your depth of knowledge is far better than what I have. So how do you classify, or how would you fix some of the things that many people do? Like, what are some of the common things that you're seeing these days?
Well, the most common thing I see is people just doing what I call random acts of marketing. So exactly as you said, a little bit of social media. We need to upgrade our website. Hey, why don't we try some SEO? Our pay-per-click ads guy said to do this. So people kind of just do random things, and the problem with random things is you get random results, and so we don't want random results, we want predictable results. So whenever we see any situation where the stakes are high, people have a plan. You know, your pilot has a flight plan, Your doctor has a medical treatment plan. The military has a military operations plan. Why do they have plans? Because the stakes are high. And so they want to ensure success because people's lives are on the line. Now, when we look at business, I mean, maybe people's lives are not on the line, but certainly their livelihoods are on the line. So their livelihoods, their family, their community, everyone who's reliant on them, the economy as a whole. And so I'm absolutely shocked that, the business failure statistics that are out there. So I think something like 7 or 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years. That's a pretty commonly known statistic. And people just accept that. Hey, they think that that's normal. And if 7 or 8 out of 10 cars crashed, resulting in fatal injuries, I mean, there'd be riots in the streets. People would want change. But we seem to accept that 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 5 years, and we seem to think that that's normal. Well, I don't really accept that. And I think if we were able to plan the most important part of our business in more detail, and when I say the most important part of our business, that's the getting of the clients, the lead flow, getting prospects in the door, closing sales. If we were able to fix that and plan that out a little bit better, then I think we would have a massive increase in the amount of success that most businesses have. And so I've made it my mission to really reduce that statistic where it's not 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 businesses that fail in the first 5 years, but it's a much lower statistic. And we do that through strategic planning of marketing. So really being professional about how we go about marketing rather than kind of just doing random things and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that for many investors that are starting out, especially, they they just don't know how to form their marketing strategy. They can't because they've never done it before. For some of these folks, they've never done it before, or they're just doing exactly what you just called it. These random acts of marketing. They said, well, if so and so is doing X Y Z, then I should be doing X Y Z because they're doing it. And that's not always the best case for them to help them out, right? Because ultimately, what they're looking to do is get in front of as many quality leads as possible and convert those leads to potential people that may want to invest at some point in the future and then actually invest down the road. And all that, I mean, as one who does this for a living, takes a great deal of time. But for those that are starting out, what sort of things would you recommend they take a look at or consider doing when they're trying to establish themselves as a new person to really get out there and start building that list so they can eventually convert some of these leads to actual investors?
Yeah, yeah. Well, great question. So, where I start, and I had this experience myself in my first business where I struggled and I hired a very expensive consultant to help me put together a business plan. And, I was smart enough to know that I needed a plan, but I wasn't too smart. So this consultant charged me thousands of dollars. He took me through a long business planning process where we had charts and graphs and projections and all sorts of stuff. And it was a 70-page document, beautiful document. Like I said, charts, graphs, the whole bit. And guess what I did with it? I shoved it in the top drawer of my desk, never saw it again until I was moving offices. I dusted it off, tossed it in the trash, and was angry at myself at the money I'd wasted on doing this. And so when I started coaching people when it came to their business and their marketing, one of the first things I wanted them to do was to put together a marketing plan. And so I got a lot of resistance. So people were saying, too hard, too difficult, too expensive, don't know how, all of that sort of stuff. And that's what made me create a process called the one-page marketing plan, where literally in a single page, we can create a sophisticated direct response marketing plan where we have absolute clarity on what we need to do. So we're not guessing, should we do social media? Should we do this? Should we do that? We've got a plan and then we can follow it. It's like a map. And so the first part of the map is selecting your target market, really knowing who your audience is. Who do we want to be our ideal prospect, our ideal client that we want to do business with day in and day out. And so being very, very clear about that. And so a lot of people are very afraid of that. So they say something like, look, my target market is everyone. Anyone can invest in my deal, or anyone can be, my target. I can, they could be a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, whatever. They can say, look, my target market is everyone. And the problem with that is you're essentially saying my target market is no one. The way that the human brain is created is we filter out everything that we think isn't relevant to us. And so if we say, our stuff is for everyone, and we'll create a laundry list of products and services that we do, then that's going to miss the attention of most people. We want to be very, very specific so that when we put our message out there, people say, hey, that's for me. So they're very, very clear about what they want, and we connect with our audience. So that starts with your target market, being very, very clear who's a good fit and who's not a good fit, and really targeting our whole messaging and our whole marketing campaign to the people who are our ideal high probability target market.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that many new investors say is that they don't know who's got the money. They don't. They're rather even worse than that. No one has any money.
Yeah.
And I think that there's that too. It's like when we program our brains to say that no one has any money, you're not even keeping an eye out for any of those people to begin with.
Of
Right.
course.
So there's that whole thing. So great. So once you've identified who that market is, so how do you tailor the materials then to get in front of them? Like, do you practice what to say, how to say it? Does that come later, or are you like in basically preparing what to say and present yourself to those people?
Yeah. Well, when you've really honed in on your target market, messaging, which is the second step of the one-page marketing plan, gets infinitely easier. So we know, for example, what an entrepreneur responds to. We know, for example, what a pregnant mother responds to. We know what a teenager in a certain demographic might respond to. So it gets infinitely easier. But even within that framework, we can then test different messages. So whenever I'm talking to someone who's an ideal target market, I'm listening on two kind of dimensions. So the first dimension is obviously what they're saying and the conversation that we're having. But the second dimension is the things that the words that they're using and the phrases that they're using, and reading between the lines. So very often when I'm working with entrepreneurs, so I know that they're time poor. I know that they want to get things done. I know that they want an easy approach that gives them structure, that gives them clarity. And so over time, I pay attention to words and phrases that kind of get those heads nodding. So when you see the heads nodding, or when you see something's connecting, I really pay attention to that level, because that gets fed back into my marketing copy, into my ads. So there's nothing more powerful than taking your ideal prospect's exact words and phrases and giving it back to them in the form of your copy, in the form of your advertising, because people feel like, wow, this guy just read my mind, So, and that's kind of a copywriting technique. It was, I believe it was Gary Halbert who said, you want to enter the conversation that's going on in their mind. So what is it that's keeping up your target market at 3 a.m.? What is it that they're thinking about? What are their hopes, their dreams and desires? And we want to tap into that in our messaging. So we want to go from the messaging just being really superficial to what we think that they want to hear, to, hey, what is it that they're thinking? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are their desires? And we want to tap into that. And so that can take a little bit of testing, but over time, as you become much more familiar with your particular target market, you're going to get to know some of these different phrases, some of these words, some of this languaging that really connects with them. And so that's super, super powerful. And that's one of the reasons why it's so powerful to really select your target market well, because then we can have a laser targeted message rather than just a very general message.
Yeah, it's I've seen it so many times. I'd be sitting in on these sales meetings, and the person at the front of the desk, sitting around the clients there, immediately opens up with, "Let me tell you about what I do, and let me
Yes.
tell you about our great company and what we're all about. And let me tell you
Yes.
about all the locations that we have throughout the United States, the country, and the world."
Yes.
It's like no one cares about your company.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's,
And
it's with them. What's in it for me?
exactly.
That's what people care about. What's in it for me, right? So great. So you sit down, you get to understand what their copy is. And it sounds like, but it almost sounds like, Allan, that you're almost practicing at first, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to try to understand what it is that they're saying, because you're going to have to take this information, assimilate it in some way, and really hone that messaging, right? I mean, this doesn't happen overnight, I'm guessing, right?
No, it doesn't happen overnight. And so it's really powerful. If you've been part of that target market, then it becomes much easier. So, for example,
Mm,
I am and I've been an entrepreneur. I've been that entrepreneur who's had a good product, who's had a good service, and I'm struggling to get clients in the door, and I'm worried about how am I going to make payroll this month and all of that. So, I can connect with that audience very well because I've been one of those people and I totally understand the psychology. Now, if I was entering a brand new market, and I have from time to time, and I've not been a part of that target market, I've got a little bit more work to do. So I've got to think of myself like a spy who's infiltrating that target market. I want to find out, what are the things that are the real hot button issues in that target market? What are the things that they're concerned about? What are the things that they're worried about disrupting their market? What are the things that are hopes and dreams and desires that they've got where they want to go? And so, I can do that by formal means, like by a survey. So I could survey that target market and ask open-ended questions like, what's the biggest challenge in your industry right now, or what's the biggest challenge in your business right now? So you can ask open-ended questions. But even better than a survey would be to have an informal chat. So I would take someone out for a coffee or or maybe a Zoom meeting or whatever, and just chat about their industry. You'll learn a lot from talking to people who've been in an industry for a while. They'll tell you what's going on in there. And then if you really want to take it up a notch, attend one of their industry conferences. You will
mm.
learn a lot. You're going to have speakers who address the hot button issues. You're going to find out what is it that they're concerned about, what's disrupting their industry. Is there a particular technology that's coming in that's changing up the way that they do things? And so that's an even better approach. Like if you can attend an industry conference for a day to find out about a particular target market, you are going to come away with a wealth of knowledge. And so you're going to understand a lot about that target market, and then you can tap into that. So if, for example, they're concerned about a particular technology that's coming in, it's disrupting them, it's reducing their margins, it's creating more competition. That's what I would have as some of the leading things that I have in my copy, in my marketing. I would say, look, are you concerned about XYZ technology coming in, disrupting your industry, reducing your margins, taking customers away, or whatever else? So depending on their industry, you would tap into whatever the hot button issues are. What are the things that they're kind of wide awake at 3 a.m. worried about?
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it, Allan, though, that I've seen is to actually be there on purpose. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is that there's many events that take place every single day in the world of real estate
yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
And a lot of them are free, but people just show up. They're
Mm,
not actively engaging in the manner that you're pointing out, which is invaluable, because if that approach is taken and you're listening on purpose, what
mm,
is going on in that person's mind right now? Like, are they having a hard time sleeping? Are they worried about their retirement? Maybe they're already at 2 million and they want to get to 10 by this time next year? How
exactly,
do you help them get to their goals, right?
exactly.
And uh, uh, and and I think for many of us, and I think we're all guilty of this. We often get caught up on our own stories,
Mm,
right? And this is one of those things you have to be totally unselfish and listen to what the other person is saying and absorb it and then assimilate it as quickly as possible in the form of like writing it down, putting in, recording it on your phone, something,
mm.
anything, and then from there developing your message. I mean, it takes work to do this stuff, right?
Of course it does. It takes work, but the work will come back to you tenfold, because if you can communicate to your audience in a powerful way that cuts through, uh, you know, it. it just makes the biggest difference to your marketing. It makes the biggest difference to your business. The emails I send to my email list, I get fan mail back, right? So I don't think there's many marketers out there that get fan mail. And so to me, that just shows how much the message is cutting through. And because I'm able to really tap into the things that they're concerned about, the things that are happening in their business, and stay on the pulse. I've always found, whether it be in my technology businesses or whether it be my current business, really staying on the pulse of what's current is so important if you're communicating with that audience on a regular basis. So you want to make sure that you're relevant, and that when your email comes through or when your message comes through, they read that and they say, hey, that's for me, I need that. So that's so important, and you can't do that with a very general message or a message that doesn't really connect with them. So messaging is such an important part of what we do from a marketing perspective, because it touches every area. It's going to touch your pay-per-click ads, your social media, your email copy, even the languaging that you use on a sales call. So if you're highly relevant, if people are thinking, hey, that's for me, and you've gotten past that filter in their brain, then that's going to make a massive, massive difference to your results.
Yeah, but I think if you're getting fan mail back, a key element here to understand is that you are delivering value to someone,
Yeah,
right? Which
exactly.
is a big difference, because people, hey, listen, I think most everyone listening to this podcast right now is on some sort of email list,
Yes.
and every time you get it, it's all about me. It's me, me, me. It's all it's always about
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But some of the best copywriters out there, they're able to weave an entertaining message, which I get the impression that your messaging is somewhat entertaining.
Yes.
So people read it, they get entertained, and then at the end there's the ask: would you like to sign up for this? Would you like to do that? Or whatever the case may be. But you're delivering a piece of knowledge or a piece of entertainment first,
Yes.
right? And for many people, they just don't do that.
Well,
Many people don't do that.
I often refer to a good copywriting as infotainment. So it's yes, we want to inform them, but you can't bore somebody into buying, right? So people will forgive all sorts of things, but they won't forgive being bored. So you need to write in an entertaining way. Your marketing should almost be entertainment to some extent, because people will tune into entertainment. They particularly tune into story. So if whenever I've been speaking from stage, I can just see the eyes start to pay attention once I start telling a story. So you might be talking, people are kind of, maybe they're listening, maybe they're looking at their phone or whatever, but you start telling a story, and the human brain is just wired for receiving and telling stories. And so people just pay attention. So if you can weave stories that are relevant to whatever it is that you're talking about, that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, no. Hey, and that's the thing. I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's actually one great way of raising money is that first listening to what their need is, the need of that investor, and then weaving a story afterwards about how you use that example to help them get to their goal, right? So, and maybe it's an IT executive, for instance, right? So I was a former IT executive. I can tell them about my transition from struggling as an IT guy, even though I was C-level executive, leaving my future in the hands of someone else, only to get canned. And then what do I do? Right. And
Yes.
then here's what happened afterwards, and tell the whole story, to explain the whole journey. And I think the reason why people do that, Alan, is because, well, a couple of reasons. Our In our evolution as humans, we've been able to put stories as a way of educating the next generation. So that's a natural progression of how we educate the people coming up as the older generation dies off. But I think another key aspect is that we often put ourselves in in the narrator's place, right?
Indeed.
That's and if you're able to do that effectively, whether you're making a pitch to get them to invest in what you're selling, if you're doing something like that, it could be very, very powerful to get them to imagine a very different future for themselves and for their families. So that could be huge.
Exactly. That's a technique called future pacing, where you really take someone through to the result that they want. So take someone forward, 12 months. You're now a successful investor. You've invested in X number of deals. You're whatever, so on and so forth. So that can be incredibly powerful as well.
Yeah. Do you go through future pacing in your materials?
I do. So it's a really powerful copywriting technique, and so I mean it's one of many copywriting techniques. But at the end of the day, going through big picture and creating that direct response marketing plan is super powerful. People just get such clarity. They're like, they were previously lost and confused, and now they're found. So they know what they need to do from a marketing perspective, and that's so great because when you're kind of just following the bright shiny object, when you've kind of today you're trying a bit of SEO, tomorrow you're doing a website refresh, all of that, it's confusing. It's also expensive because you're wasting a lot of money and not sure if you're getting a result. And it's frustrating because you want to grow your business. You want to put that rocket fuel under your business, and marketing is that rocket fuel, but only marketing that works. Marketing that doesn't work, it's just a waste. So you want to create that plan, that map of where you're going to go, and that is super, super powerful.
Right. Now you alluded to some coaching, so I'm guessing that you and your team also put together these types of plans for people, right?
Yeah, we don't put the plans together for the people, but we work with them. So we're kind of the opposite of a marketing agency. A marketing agency says, hey, we'll do all of your marketing for you. We're the opposite of that. We will teach you to build the marketing function within your business. And the reason that we do that is, first of all, no one knows your business as well as you do. No one cares about your business as much as you do. But the most important part is we want to build the value of your business. So you being able to crack lead flow and marketing is going to be the most valuable thing that you can do in your business. Whereas if you get a marketing agency just to do it for you, most of the time they're going to charge you a lot of money, not get you a great result. But let's say even if they got you an awesome result and they did a really good job, you've built the value of their business. So they've got the in-house knowledge and know-how and everything like that, and you're now just fully reliant on them. So what I want is for you to build the value of your business, for you to have that marketing function in-house, so that with clarity and with certainty that you know how to get the next prospect, the next lead, the next client in the door. And then that's building the value of your business.
Yeah. And those are skills as a portfolio manager, someone getting out there and getting into this business. That is absolutely gold, because you really have to be able to manage that whole function. Unfortunately, you can't just hand it off to someone else. You got to do it. You got to control it.
Absolutely.
It's your list. It's your list. You got to control your list. Yeah.
For sure.
Now, Allan, if you had one piece of bulletproof advice for someone listening right now, what would you tell them?
Okay. So my biggest piece of advice is that marketing is the master skill of business. There is nothing that will, if you get 10% better at negotiation, great. If you get 10% better at financial analysis, fantastic. But here's what we know. We know that the best marketer wins every time. I wish that the best deal won every time by the fact that it's the best deal or the best product or the best service. But we know that that's not the case. We know that the best marketer wins every time. And so my piece of advice is for you to become the best marketer within your niche. And so that will massively transform your business and transform your results. So really resolve to become a marketer of what you do. So become a marketer of real estate, become a marketer of deals, become a marketer of those things, and that's going to massively transform your results.
Excellent. Love it. 100% true. 100% true. All right, guys. Well, if you want to reach out to Allan, you reach him through his website at successwise.com. I hope you got some insight on the importance of having a marketing plan and to really show you how to build that marketing infrastructure and give you clarity and structure to landing investors. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast.